Okay, well, hello. Hopefully, this is broadcasting to both Facebook and YouTube at the same time. If you're on Facebook or YouTube, if you could announce which platform you are on, and if you can hear me just fine, that would be a big help. And thank you for the kind words there, Thumper. I love you as always. All right, just a minute here. I'll start. I'll give about a minute or so for everyone to come on board, and then I'll announce what we found out. But this is information that may have possibly been out there before, but no one seems to know about it or where it was. But I think it's pretty important. And the more I looked into it, the more important it seemed to have become. So, and we'll give it another minute or so because it takes a couple minutes for everybody to get on board. But if you are on Facebook, the comment section, apparently, according to the broadcast platform that I'm using, does not function properly. So if you want, come on to the YouTube side. That way you're pretty much guaranteed that I'll be able to see any questions or anything that you have. But either way, if you are on Facebook and can comment, let me know that you can and what the volume is on my microphone, if it's all good. And I'll try to take a look at the comment section here. Doesn't tell me which one I'm actually looking at. It's kind of weird. I'm looking at a new interface, so bear with me. So if anyone can actually type anything at this moment, if you already have, I won't possibly know about it because all I can see right now is a previous comment, but I'm going to try to open up a different screen and see if I can. If not, I'll bounce back and forth. And comments show up here. There we go. Okay, center of gravity, Starless Mystery, and Jeff Scott. So everybody, are you which platform are you guys on? Just put FB if you're on Facebook and YT if you're on YouTube, so I can quickly tell who's on what. And there's going to be probably a few seconds delay. And of course, people decide to message me right now in the middle of a live broadcast. That's pretty difficult. Okay, so it looks like everybody that can comment is on YouTube. So if you're on Facebook and watching this, go to the 5x5 News channel on YouTube if you do want to have your questions seen, because apparently Facebook has an issue for some reason on allowing the chat session or comment section to go through. And here we go. I got to block him, I guess. So here's what's happening. It came to my attention today, and the person who actually brought the information to me will absolutely get full credit for this at the time that that person wants to let it be known that they're the person that got me this information. But the important thing is the information itself. What's odd about this is that this is not a normal case. This is not your normal case where you just don't worry about, someone having some sort of relationship with, the parties that be and whatever. We're talking about the number one largest mass shooting in the history of the United States. A very sad, terrible thing that is, just by the sheer numbers, eclipses everything before it. And they decided, for whatever reason, that this would be okay. That having the father of the judge that was picked to mediate the settlement, which came to $800 million, of which Mandalay Bay will only pay out of pocket maybe $50 million tops, because the insurance is paying $750 million. So Mandalay Bay, MGM, Resorts International will only be out of pocket $50 million, and the person who got this settlement or the one of the two judges that was on this case for the settlement, but apparently the primary was the daughter of an MGM vice president, not just an MGM vice president, but the vice president and head of security at MGM. Not only that, he worked daily at Mandalay Bay. And not only that, after he left MGM, he went to work for Steve Sisolak as the director of public safety. This is nuts. Yeah, I'm using StreamYard. So let me know if everything's coming through okay. If the signal's not good, I'll do what I can. But I'm faking my laptop onto my phone because it seemed to have a better signal with just the phone. And sorry for this not being the most professional looking live stream ever, but I felt the information needed to get out there fast. I didn't want to sit down and try to create studios and stuff like that. So again, here's the information. The judge who was picked to be the mediator for the largest mass shooting in United States history is the daughter of a vice president of MGM Resorts International. Not only that, he's the head of security for MGM, or was the head of security. And he was there at the time. And it was not necessarily the time of the shooting, but he was in that position, both positions, at that time, at the time of the shooting. And the thing I just can't seem to get past is how this would have gotten past any type of scrutiny. This judge should have recused himself and not taken the case. I mean, she obviously knows the position that her father had, and apparently this was not disclosed to the claimants. Only, well, I won't get into the particular details unless the individual lets me know that I can. But the details that I will say is that based on the quick investigation I did afterwards, now keep in mind, this is a fluid thing. This happened just hours ago. But the information that I have leads me to believe that the attorneys that knew about this did not give this information to a lot of their clients. And I think one or maybe two did, but the vast majority, especially when it comes to the larger, case attorneys that handled a lot more cases, obviously, did not. So this is a problem that I think needs to be explored further. So what I'm going to do over the next couple of days is get with people that know a lot more about this than I do, and try to get information for you guys, because I know timelines and all of these things have been passed, and I don't know if this changes anything for anyone, but I know I would have a problem with it if the person doing the mediation was the daughter of vice president of MGM. I mean, yeah, maybe nothing happened. Maybe absolutely nothing occurred. No, hey, honey, can you do this? Or maybe can you try to get, nothing like, maybe nothing like that happened. I'm not implying that it did, and I'm certainly not saying that it didn't. But what I am saying is that this is such a important case. And we've all seen this before in super important cases where some little glitch or some stupid, small thing that was in a law, or just any stupid technicality could cause a thing like this to derail. This is unbelievable, folks. Unbelievable. I'm going to scroll up here and see if there's any questions. And the corruption deepens. Yeah, that very true, Bear. It's, this case never I can't even say this case never ceases to surprise me, because it always does kind of surprise me. But at the same time, when I finally look at whatever it is that's put in front of me, it's like, yeah, this is Vegas, all right. Unbelievable. I don't know why that showed hide. Sorry, I may have blacked out one of your messages. But yeah, this is I'm going to try to scroll back through. If anyone has any questions, ask me now. I may not have the answer because right now this is a little bit fresh and a little bit new, and you can probably hear a little bit of excitement in my voice that I don't really have a whole ton of information because some of it I'm sitting on for a minute. But for the most part, I don't see how this could have slipped past the sniffer test when someone's trying to figure out if this is okay. Because when you go into a mediation process, one of the first things that you look at is, are there going to be any conflicts? You look at the attorneys, and you if you have a conflict, then you appoint a conflict panel or a conflict. That's, I don't know what the terminology is for Vegas or for Nevada, but I think Florida and a couple other states that I've been witnessed in is, you have a conflict panel, where the case can still go forward, but that particular person cannot be utilized for whatever reason. And in this case, we're talking about the judge. We're not talking about an attorney. We're talking about the judge. And the conflict is not that someone knows someone at MGM or someone was previously an employee there. The judge is the daughter of the vice president of MGM Resorts International. You can't make this up. This is unreal. Unbelievable. Let me scroll back down here. And yeah, MGM did offload a bunch of shares. And here's what else is weird. The kicker to all of this is that the president of MGM, who everyone, a lot of people, there's a conspiracy about whether or not he had offloaded a bunch of shares just before the shooting, Jim Murren. Well, Jim Murren, just before he left the job there at MGM, he sold off a bunch of properties, got MGM to a very nice cash flow situation, and then I haven't really looked at the stocks. It's not normally my forte, but I would assume that the stocks would have probably prospered by those actions, selling off some of the major properties, putting billions of dollars into the cash flow situation of MGM, which naturally has a positive effect on the stocks. And then he leaves. Where does he go? He goes to work for Steve Sisolak, the governor. So the governor gets elected on the back of this whole, situation. The whole, man, there's so many terms I want to use right now. So Governor Sisolak gets elected, basically riding the backbone of the largest mass shooting in U.S. history. After he gets in office, he starts bringing people on board for whatever reason. Now, in the case of Jim Murren, he brings them on board because of the coronavirus, and he's going to help, kickstart the Nevada economy. But the other kicker is the director of public safety. Guess who that is? The judge's father. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Yeah. Flusterclug. Yeah, I want to say all that stuff. All right, let me is this I got let's see here. Cook this other screen here. I cannot, if someone is came into the back in the studio, I cannot for some reason click a button. So if you're a guest and you're sitting there, message me some other way and then I'll try to bring you in. I see someone clicked in there and then clicked back out. I agree, CL, that that information is classic to be disclosed. I mean, keep in mind when you're in a case and a situation like this occurs, it's normally because of some minor situation. Like, I used to work for the claimant, or I used to work for the defendant, or all these different things. But this one is just unbelievable that this got past everybody. I mean, I've asked, I think, 5 or 6 different people today that were a party in the suit to go look through their information to see if this was ever revealed to them. Now, I'm not saying that the search was absolutely 100%, word for word, and that this wasn't disclosed, but I can say that according to the people I talked to, they couldn't find it anywhere in any of their documentation that this was revealed to them. Yeah, it would be public info. Of course, everyone would know that, okay, judge, blah blah blah. This may, like I'm saying, this may have come out in some obscure area before. I'm not saying I'm like the absolute first person to bring this to public knowledge. As far as I know, I am, but I don't know if someone somewhere down the road or previous to me has brought this out. I know the person that gave it to me tried to get this information out, but apparently it didn't go too far. So I'm hoping that this time I'll take the football and try to get a touchdown for the guy, because he's concerned, and he brought up this concern, and was basically quieted down. And we'll get into that on a different day after I discuss this further. Hey, Slate. So that's where we're at. ACG impartiality would come into question. Thus, that judge should recuse himself from the case. Absolutely, 100%. Absolutely. Every time I touch the screen, it tells me that it's going to hide the comment. I don't know why. Personal connection to one of the parties of the case. For example, if the judge is a neighbor, best friend, or has another personal connection with someone either side of the lawsuit, they're blah, blah, blah. Correct. I'm reading, obviously, backwards. So, yes, this information, in my opinion, because I'm not an attorney, I know one. I sent him a message, and we'll see maybe if he comes on at some point in time. But, a couple of them. But I felt this was pretty important. I want to get this out there. Here's the other thing. If you are a survivor, and if you are a victim of this, or if you were involved in this suit in any way, shape, or form, I'm not asking you to reveal any information that you have that would bypass your NDA. But if you could, look through your information and see if at any time you were ever made aware that the judge was the daughter of a very prominent person at MGM. If you notice, I haven't said their names yet. I may have them if I did. But there's not necessarily a reason for that, because obviously I typed it in the description. So look for that and see if you can find that. This is borderline bizarre, but we are talking about Vegas. So what happens in Vegas apparently happens a lot. You would think they would be able to find a different judge that wouldn't be as controversial if this information ever got out. But here it is. The information's out, and we'll see where it goes. This, again, this could be all for naught. This could be there's nothing to it. There's no, maybe the mother or the father and the daughter have not talked to each other in 20 years. I mean, who knows? But at the surface level, it doesn't pass a sniff test. I mean, there's just no way. Just no way. No way at all. So I don't know how important this will end up being. I'm not here trying to make it something that it's not. I do want to make certain that everyone knows that, in my opinion, if I would have known this back then, and I would have told, obviously, the attorneys, if I would have found out this information back then, I would have told the attorneys that I was working with, not for. Thank you, Carrie Story. Making certain that if you listen to this, I said with. But the information would have been given over, and we would have found out if it would have had a problem with the case. I don't see how it couldn't. I don't see how this could not affect the case. Never fall through. Jeff, I'm gonna kick you in the booty. No, I get it. I understand. Everybody has their, each has a reason for following through on some and not. Hell, I just sued who makes Alexa, Amazon, because of whatever BS class action suit they had. But anyway, so I'm going to keep this kind of short, because there's not a whole lot more information to give you than what I've already given you. But I am going to repeat one last time exactly what's going on here. You have a judge who is the mediator for the case involving the largest mass shooting in U.S. history, who is the daughter of a MGM, Resorts International, the very company being sued, is the daughter of a vice president. Not the daughter of a guy that works there that carries luggage, not a daughter of a bartender. We're talking, let me bring this guy in so I have company. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good, Mr. Turber. How you doing, sir?
I am doing most splendiferous. Is this a little shocking or bizarre? Or have you ever heard of this before?
I mean, it's interesting. I think we've all heard of it to an extent in terms of all types of different cases that have gone on that,
Mm-hmm.
have been, whether we've been involved indirectly or have been shared with us. I think a lot of people are familiar with this whole conflict of interest thing. I mean, different past lives that, past life of mine. I mean, there was just all kind of things where uh, any direct relation to the transaction at hand represented a complication, and certainly in the legal realm, it's quite evident. So this is definitely, as you pointed out, a bombshell, and unbelievable that there would not be some sort of disclosure requirement associated with this situation.
I agree 100%. Now, I'm not going to release it yet. I do have the disclosure that was made through one specific law firm. So I do have that. And the party that gave that to me will remain anonymous at the moment until such time as I decide and he decides to let me go forward. That's me keeping my word. And he didn't even ask me to do that. I basically said that's what I'm going to do anyway, just to see how this goes. But in the wording, it actually states in the wording that the judge is all of this information, except it didn't go as far as I did, with the other things. But that it's just I'm still kind of shocked. You can probably hear it in my voice. Everybody knows I'm pretty much normally just going to spew some things out of here, but I'm sitting here just dumbfounded that this could have actually occurred. And this is no exaggeration. I'm not trying to pump this up, nothing like that. I am literally sitting here going, how in the hell could this have possibly gotten to this point? And no one cry foul, or no one else find out about it. I mean, this is something we probably would have heard. Somebody told me earlier that they had heard something about it, but I looked on internet resources to try to determine where this information, if it had ever been out before, and I couldn't find anything. So who knows? But pretty bizarre. Pretty bizarre.
Very bizarre. I can't believe that. I can't believe that. I mean, obviously, there's people that would be much more in the know in the legal field, and everybody that was involved in this thing as to whether this could potentially become a problem at some point. And so the answer should be pretty evident and easy to find, whether or not there's some sort of issue here. But
right. Yeah,
I mean,
I sent a message to Breslow and a couple other people to, unfortunately the attorney I obviously used to work with has passed away. But I did send out a message. I haven't received a reply back yet because this was like literally an hour ago. So we'll see. It'll probably be another subject that we'll bring back up. But again, we're not talking about a judge who has a son who parks cars at Mandalay Bay. We're not talking about a judge whose husband or father, works some minor job over there. We're talking about a vice president, and not just a vice president, but the vice president and head of all MGM security, not just Mandalay Bay security. He's the head of MGM security.
And with that said, I would imagine he's also a shareholder.
Yeah. I think all employees that are in that level of management would have not only shares, but they would probably have some stock sharing program that's offered to them, to the company. So I don't see why they wouldn't do that.
I mean, with that aspect alone, in terms of holding an equity position of any kind in a corporation, in the realm of holding shares or what have you, I mean, and you have a family member that's a judge in the matter, I don't see how in the world it's not a problem.
I don't either. And and what I really want to reveal right now is what was told to this other entity, this other party, which I'm going to be talking to a lot more. But I kind of put this out because I want to get a feeler back of someone going, oh no, this was brought up, blah 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 date, and this is how it was handled, or hey, we know this was discussed, anything to take some of the edge off of this, to go, oh, it was okay, well, what was discussed and how did it come out? But I didn't find any of that. If anyone has, please send me, what you can. Now, as far as I don't want anyone to break an NDA agreement, that I get, because everyone in this case has an NDA with their attorneys. It's just built into the process. But this is too far down the track. We're past all of the dates. That this is, there are milestones for this case. One obviously being October 1, 2 years after the fact, is when they announced the settlement. The settlement being 800, up to 800, or something that was 735 to $800 million. Obviously with some fluctuation room in there for whatever reason, but the insurance company is going to pay $750 million of that. So MGM is out of pocket, possibly, $0 or up to say $50 million tops. That's a slap on the wrist. And I remember discussing with a particular attorney. We were trying to determine what we thought, me and a couple others. It was like a little think tank thing of what we thought the amount should be looked at to go for whatever damages and what have you. The low amount was 2.4 billion. And keep in mind, this settled for 800 million. This is kind of on the lower end. I remember when I did the calculations a few months ago, and it came out to, if you just divided it pretty much across the board, 177,000, and then it went down to like 16 or 111,000 when you took out attorney's fees and all this other stuff that someone would be looking at. And I'm not saying that's a high dollar amount, low dollar amount. In my mind, it's a extremely low dollar amount for what people have had to go through. And now here we have this, which is really just a slap in everyone's face. I don't know if this is something where someone would look at it and go, oh, okay, yeah, we need to overturn the settlement and go back into this and take that out, because that would just drag this thing obviously on further. And a lot of people need whatever people have agreed to on their claims and what have you. That's between them, their attorney, and obviously the powers that be. I'm not going to get into that level of conversation.
And I'm sure you're talking about one heck of a gruesome process to get to that point with them, as many people as would be trying to stand in the way and drag this thing out even further before that determination was ever made as to whether or not it needed to be reopened and done over, so to speak. But you mentioned one point. If indeed it was disclosed to some parties and not others, that in and of itself seems real bizarre and problematic.
Agreed. Absolutely. Hey, Eddie, I see Eddie just came in there.
Hey, Eddie, how's it going?
Fly by.
Cool.
That's pretty bizarre. Eddie, if you want to come on the show, I can send you a link if you want to come on and say a couple of words. Or if anyone wants to come on, just send me a message in Facebook if you're friend with me on Facebook, and I'll shoot you the link. I'm not going to publicly post it because of the actions of what happened last night. I would be almost 100% sure that someone would take advantage of that. And we're not going to go there. So hey KL, and hey Truth Bomb and Paladin and all the rest of the gang over there. I hope you're having a great night, because I know damn well you're listening to me. All right, Eddie, I'm sending it to you right now. Hang on. I'll be right back. And the star of the show right now for you is Center of Gravity. So take over for a minute, everybody. And you tell everybody how you got your name and all that other good stuff and what I call you. I'll be right back.
All right, I'll take over for a minute. Well, I hope everybody's doing good. Good to see you, Eddie. Good to see you, Jeff Scott. Good to see everybody in the chat. And CL, hope you're well. I'm Two Bear. Hello, everyone. I'm not scrolling up too far here, but if I missed you, I think I saw, I'm just trusting my memory now. Yeah, Rock Girl's in here. So, all right. Hope I didn't miss anybody. But anyway, I'm sure we're all kind of feeling the same way right now about this information with, obviously, I'm not a lawyer, and I don't think anyone in the chat is either. So this is kind of a head scratcher here, but a little bit of experience I have in my background, there were many things that needed to be disclosed when it came to familial relationships, if I said that correctly. And I cannot imagine in a case of any size, but particularly one of this size and magnitude, where everything would not need to be out on the table for all parties involved. Anyway, maybe I'm just in left field here. Somebody
welcome to the show, Eddie.
Somebody with some expertise is going to have to clear this one up.
How you doing, buddy?
I'm okay. How you been, brother?
You know my situation. I'm hanging in there and trying to figure a lot of things. Lots happened as usual, but this happened today, so I figured get this information out as quickly as possible and see what's happening, and then and go from there. It could be a whole lot of nothing, but I'll tell you, as on the surface level, when you look at it, I double checked everything, and everything seems to be factually correct. So if somebody slaps me with whatever tomorrow and says, "Hey, you were wrong about this and this and this," I'll say, "Well, but the information I have tells me that Jennifer's father, who's the judge, is George, who is was the vice president at the time of MGM Resorts International on 10/1/2017, all the way through, I think, November of 2019, and now and also he was the head of security, and on top of that, Steve Sisolak brought him into the government, and he is the director of public safety, a position that he actually held before under a previous governor. So he's probably a great person at his job. And I'm not doubting either job of either entity. The judge is probably a great judge, and she appears to be everything I read about her, and he's probably a great guy. But at the same time, there's that to me is a conflict. I don't see how anyone can get around it. What do you think?
Well, let me ask you one question. What is Sisolak's head of task force for COVID-19 here in Las Vegas, Nevada, or in the state of Nevada?
Jim Murren.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I have a bit of an issue with that.
I do too. What are your thoughts?
As soon as I saw your video, I sent an email to a couple of attorneys and said, "Would you like me to read it?"
Yeah.
Let me go into it here. I haven't received anything back from yet. I didn't send it.
Yeah, it might mean that I did the same thing.
So I'm guessing you already know that the Honorable Judge Tagliati is the daughter of the Vice President and Director of Security of MGM Resorts on October 1st, 2017, George Tagliati, who is now working for Steve Sisolak as Director of Public Safety for Nevada. It seems there is a conflict of interest at minimum. Any comment? I think the media would love to get a kick out of this, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. When I saw that, I was dismayed. I called my partner in crime, Sue Ann, who helps me in the healing word all the time. We were there yesterday doing some work. Anyway, and I just had to vent, and she was like, "Are you kidding me with this?" I said,
yes, that's gunfire behind me. Sorry. It is unreal that that got past anything. I mean, and I'm surprised that another any entity in Vegas or any media outlet did not, put two and two together and put this out there. Maybe somebody did, and they were told to sweep it under the rug or whatever it was. But this is just ridiculous. This is unbelievable. You get to be at a loss for words when some of these things come out, and then I'm sitting there looking at the information. I'm trying to double check everything. I'm triple checking everything. I went to, everyone's Facebook pages, even Steve Sisolak's Facebook page. I went to the George's Facebook page, and I saw one of his posts where he says to his family that he's, he's got this position at UNLV, and he's vice president MGM Resorts International, and he's working inside Mandalay Bay every day. Like he's not just at MGM doing the security, head of security for the whole MGM, all the properties and whatnot. He's actually working inside Mandalay Bay every day. And no one comes up with this stuff. No one figured this out. This is nuts. Absolute nuts.
I'm blown away, man. I this doesn't jive.
Mm-mm. And so far, each survivor, each claimant that I have discussed this with, not one has ever heard of this before. They're not obviously across the board, no one's really sure what this actually means, overall, myself included, because I don't have 100%. I think Eddie, come back in if you lost your connection, because you were getting a little crackly. There he is. There you go. Got you back in. Eddie, we lost you for a second.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Did I bring you in too soon? Your camera's on, I think.
No, we could end that.
Yeah.
I wanted Secret's take on this. What's your take, bud?
I kind of laid out everything I could think of on this thing a minute ago, but basically, Eddie, it's just the apparent and evident conflict of interest here is way too obvious, and this, I put something in the chat earlier that I just Googled quickly in terms of conflict of interest, common conflict of interest in the realm of judges presiding over cases and so forth. And this guy is not only a vice president, but he's obviously in that role, he's going to be a shareholder. So he's likely going to hold some equitable position in the corporation. And there's just, every problem you can think of comes into play with this. And as a layman, I've heard enough. I've been around long enough to hear enough stories about conflicts of interest and problems, even in much more small scale type transactions where, all things have to be disclosed through all parties involved. And this blows me away. If there's not a problem with it, I can't imagine how in the hell there wouldn't be. How it would be escalated and addressed properly, now that's a whole nother ballgame, isn't it? Especially in a good old boy network and all the bullshit we've already seen over time.
Yeah, with us being this far in the game and this far down the tracks or whatever, trying to unwind everything that's been essentially accomplished to date would be probably counterproductive. And a lot of people, I don't see where this could derail the whole thing, or this could just be a pimple on the side of the buffalo kind of thing. It might not be nothing, but I don't see it that way. I don't think anyone I've talked to sees it that way. And over the next couple of days, I'll talk to obviously people that I know. Eddie, if you can do the same, it'd be a big help. And same thing.
Mike,
yeah.
Where I was today, I wish to God. Actually, maybe it's a good thing it didn't come out yesterday, because this morning, I don't know if you know this or anybody knows it, but I'm not a big COVID-19 hide in my house kind of guy. I've been out protesting it and trying to stay out. In fact, I have a Facebook page, a group that's got 91. Well, today it reached 10,000 people. Anyhow, today I was in City Hall talking to Mayor Goodman and a city council meeting. And my questions would have been, I didn't have any questions for her. I was thanking her actually for, in fact, I thanked her. I said, this is long overdue. I've been wanting to meet her for a long time. I says, I really have wanted to thank you for a very long time. While Steve Sisolak stood in front of a camera during the last tragedy that happened in Las Vegas, Nevada in 10/1/2017, I said, you were in hospitals with the victims and the wounded of Route 91 Harvest Festival. I said, and within 5 days of that tragedy happening in our city, you had the wherewithal and the foresight to create a healing garden for the victims and survivors of that tragedy.
Mm-hmm.
Within 5 days, I said, Stephen Sisolak sat in front of a camera,
Right,
gaining brownie points. I said, and here you are again today, almost 3 years later, and you had the wherewithal and the foresight to say, open Nevada, it's time. You're killing our economy. We have over 400,000 people unemployed here in the state of Nevada, or in Clark County,
right.
Which is insane. It's just insane. The cure can't be worse than the virus, and it is. Our DETR, our unemployment insurance place, is just an absolute joke. It's overwhelmed, and nobody's getting their money. And anyway, long story short, on the whole COVID thing, we're here on a different subject. If I had known what I know today from what you dug up, dude, that's incredible. I mean, that's incredible. I would shudder to think what the news would have said, because they were all there when I spoke. I would have loved to see the look on their face. In fact, I sat next to Rachel Crosby.
Yeah. I'm curious as to how they will respond to this so far after the fact, because in their minds, keep in mind, any media outside of Las Vegas or SoCal is probably, not going to look at this and go, we're going to read, this is a national, newsworthy or whatever, but at least local, talk to, the powers that be and just say, hey, someone needs to respond to this in an official capacity and explain how this could have happened. I mean, on the surface level, it looks so. I mean, it's just, on the surface level, it just looks so damning. There's just no other way to see it. And if you and maybe somebody will dig into it, and I'm obviously going to dig into it, and I might find out that, hey, this woman is the perfect mediation choice, and he had literally nothing to do or influence at all. But with Vegas being what Vegas is, and so many people being, considered part of a cover up to get business back to business as usual, which I get that part. I understand that. I don't have an issue with that, but I have an issue with how the way they did it, and not putting the information. I mean, just so many different things. I mean, that's like you said with the COVID thing. It's a whole nother show. But this thing here, from the surface level, anyone looking at it would go, are you effing kidding me? How in the hell could anyone go, yeah, okay, she's the daughter of the vice president of MGM Resorts International, and he's the head of security there. Yeah, I don't see a problem with that.
I have in my phone, and I just sent them a message 5 days ago. I got replies from 6 of them regarding the COVID thing.
Mm-hmm.
And not being angrily or anything like that, just questions of, we're on the hook for $500 million for the Raiders Stadium here now, and that was paid by hotel taxes or room taxes, and the rooms are empty.
Right.
Who's on the hook for it now? Our children are out of school, and they're supposed to be enrolled in an online program, and about 18% of them are the parents can be held accountable for it or not. I mean, what's the status on that? Anyway, long story short, I have 11 contacts in my phone, their cell numbers. Should I send this out to them? I just cannot believe what I'm hearing. It boggles my mind.
Go ahead, and you can give them, you've got my number now, my new number, so you can do that if you want, and I will give them the backup proof information that I'm not revealing yet. I'm holding on to it for a reason. Because it was made aware, and there was, this isn't something that I just found out of the, just by digging around, checking people's. I kind of did, but someone stumbled it to me in a way that is a little. It'll come out over the next few days, most likely. Right now, I'm protecting the person's identity because I want to make certain that this is not a violation of their NDA. Because everyone that's in the settlement has signed an NDA, And it's, for me, it's more, I'm not going to run out there and tell the news story and say, hey, guess who gave me this, unless I have that person's explicit permission. And then on top of it, even if they give me permission, I'm going to try to make certain that I'm not screwing them over.
I don't know that you would have to do that. If the information is available on the internet and you have links to it, well, I don't know why you would ever interject
it's not
that person to begin with.
Yeah, I agree. I could bypass that altogether, but the fact is that this information, the backup information was from a attorney group, and that information is possibly part of an NDA, and I would not want to throw anyone under the bus or anything like that. So that's the part that I'm referring to.
It wouldn't happen to be anybody that I work with, would it?
No, I don't know.
Okay.
No,
is it a Nevada company or a California company? Not that it matters.
When you find out who this individual is, it's going to blow your mind, because it would be probably the last person you think that I would actually partner up with, or anyway, or that they would partner up with me, because we were at each other's throats.
I already know who it is. I already know who it is now.
Absolutely amazing that this turned out this way. But just like anyone, if someone has a situation, I don't care if you hate me or love me, or doesn't make any difference. If there's an issue that I feel that I would never walk away from anyone, even if I don't like them, if a scenario played out like this, or even more minor than this. But this is just absolutely mind-boggling. And I just couldn't believe, because this person made an attempt to make this known, and it apparently fell flat. Well, I promised him, or her, obviously him, that this will not fall on deaf ears, and that I will make every effort that I can to get this information in the right hands, to see if this is something that could be important. And it seems like it might be.
I am at just a loss for words. I truly am.
Well, go through you're there, so you've got obviously a much better foothold, and people face to face kind of thing. I know a few, and if in the California groups or whatever, and I'll do what I can here.
Well, I can't do it. I can't do it in the groups, Mike. I don't want to. As far as,
I'm just saying, however you want to do it, I'm open to whatever.
If I do it, it's going to be to the media. I wouldn't put these people through that crap again. They've enough, in my opinion.
Oh yeah. I'm not talking about at all. I'm not talking about contacting claimants. No. I mean, no. If that was a thought, no, I didn't mean that at all. But yeah, okay. Any media or anyone that can, lawyers or media to see where this can go, or if this is a big bunch of nothing.
Here's the biggest issues that I've had is the investigative journalists that I talk to, they're all about it. But when it goes up to their producers, it stops. And you know how that works. I mean, this is how this town works. That's how this town. Well, hell, how long did we try to get the information that's missing from LVMPD into the hands? They don't even want it, and they're paying for it.
Yeah,
it's ludicrous.
Yeah, and then the Uber video, leaks out because it's part of one of their talks where they go around the country and talk about LVMPD and the firefighters and training, all the stuff. And the Uber video is inside that. Wasn't that evidence? Remember when in the very beginning, you and I both, and everyone, I think pretty much everyone that knew what was going on, was seeing these billboards go up around Las Vegas saying, send us your video if you have evidence, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's proof that we would never see it, because the Uber video, which is the video that did the shots going to the tanks and all of these different things, and is referenced inside the the FIT report, never made it out. And they were supposed to release all of that. And that obviously was never released. So anyone that gave their video to LVMPD, that was proof that you would never see it again. And that's why I didn't give the FBI my video. Was going to happen.
You touched on this a minute ago as you were speaking, Mike, as far as a lot of people not being local to Vegas. That thought's kind of bouncing around with me right now because, Eddie, a lot of what you've been through with the various communications and efforts to accomplish things in terms of the right things, all the many steps you've been through. When it comes to this matter, and I'm just thinking out loud here, this matter, obviously, as you've both said, relates directly to the claimants. And I think it was 65% or something of the claimants involved in this were from outside of, Nevada, and if I'm not mistaken. And so when it comes to
so are the litigants that are attempting to get the information from LVMPD. I mean, it's not just Nevada that was seeking that through the courts. It was a lot of California news agencies as well.
Exactly.
Okay, well then that kind of was obviously where my thinking was going in terms of the word getting out on this and attention being brought to it that's much needed in terms of whether or not it has has the kind of problems that most of us see it having. Obviously, there should be plenty of outsiders who would want to raise issue with this and put the people in charge over there in Vegas on the spot for what this really means in the big picture.
That's a good point, Secrets, because I don't have any friends in the media in California. However, I do have two friends who work for K-Frog. That's a really big country station in California.
Yes, it is.
I might be able to make some hay with them if nothing happens through here. Because you're right. I mean, it's not just a Vegas thing.
And it's not us trying to stir things up at last minute and try to derail anything's been accomplished. This is information that should have been out at the time that the mediation, the mediators were chosen. You have two mediation judges that were chosen to mediate this. Obviously, one being a backup of the other, or also working together because of the caseload. And I get that. I fully understand it. No problem. And I think someone asked earlier, what was the pool of judges being pulled from? I'm thinking that number would be a number of about 50 or so judges in the Las Vegas area could have been utilized in this capacity. The issue I personally have with myself in doing this is that the judge that actually was chosen, I looked at her record, and her record is impeccable. She's really a good judge. So this is not a knock in any way, shape, or form on the judge. It's not a knock on her qualifications, because she did some, like the city center thing and some other stuff where she had mediated cases that were considered, they can't be settled, and she came through and actually, got it to settlement. So this is nothing. It's not a bashing of the judge. It's not even a bashing of the father.
Let's change that a little bit different direction, Mike. What do you know where Steven Sisolak made his money?
Yes, but at the same time,
where did Steven Sisolak make his money? He sued McCarran Airport. He sued McCarran Airport.
Exactly.
He sued Clark County for $11 million. And then he ran for county commissioner.
Yep.
And he won that. And then he became the head of the county commission. And then he ran for governor.
Yep.
Now,
on the backs of all of
the taxpayers of Clark County.
Yep.
And now he has shut Clark County down.
Yep. Exactly. And you could look around this country.
Who was in front of that camera beside Joe Lombardo, aside from Rouse, every single time he was on TV?
Well, I know someone that wrote a song about it.
Like here goes.
Here it goes. I'm turning tragedy into opportunity. Unreal, unbelievable.
Indeed.
Well, I'm so glad you came on, Eddie, and also you too, Mr. CG, cool guy, center of gravity. Because this is something I wasn't sure if I was going to come on here and face plant and someone go, oh, Turber, hell, everyone knew about this. This has been a non-issue or a this or a that. I'm like, Yeah, that's actually why I went live. I figured there'd be more immediate response back, so I could actually find out is this something that was known, and granted, I went dark for a while because of issues that happened last year with my family and all this other stuff, and trying to thinking that maybe I missed this somehow. This is information that I would normally stumble upon earlier on in the investigation, but this is something I'm actually kicking myself in the butt that I didn't cross-check, all these different names of people that were important. But
I remember somebody a while back. It's been a while now, and you had mentioned that you're not sure that there's any ill will or ill intent done. But I remember somebody telling me, I don't remember who it was, but that the mediation itself was just a mere stage presentation to accommodate billing hours, because the numbers were already settled upon because of the insurance amounts that were given. And it was nothing more than a billing attempt.
Yep. That's true.
I don't know.
Well, that's what instead of me saying it's true, I'll say that there's truth to that, because on the other end of the card, I was, you too. I mean, we've both been to a couple of the court cases. I sat in on, I don't give a shit now. I guess I tell you, on a couple of phone calls and was there, and I could tell that 4 months or more previous to the settlement being announced on October 1 of 2019, that the settlement dollar amount had been settled upon. They started on February 12th, I think, and the settlement amount was pretty much done by the latter part of April. The last conversation that I had with Catherine while she was alive was about the mediation. I can't obviously say what it was, but but that was the last conversation I had with her, and part of that discussion was the amount. We'd already come up, previous to that, was just playing with numbers and trying to look at previous cases that had some similarities here and there and say, okay, what amount is the right ballpark to be in? The low amount was 2.4 billion. The median amount was over 4, and the high was 6. That was where we were kind of like floating around when it came out.
Yeah, 800 million. I had when I spoke with the attorneys, they pushed numbers across the table to me with a B in front of it, just like they did you.
Yep.
And when it ended with 1 million, I was like, huh? What happened here?
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? While we're on the subject of Route 91,
mm-hmm.
Today is Charleston Hartfield's birthday, and I'd like to have just a moment of silence for Officer Hartfield and his wife Veronica, and God bless him, and may he rest in peace, along with the other 58 angels in heaven with
59. Agreed.
Oh, Lord.
Thank you for that, Eddie. I think the dog didn't hear that, but that's cool. It's live.
So you experienced that dog once before, didn't you?
Yeah.
It ain't mine, you know that.
Oh, it's that dog. Okay, I know that dog. When you go out the door and to the left.
Yeah, that would be the one.
Well, guys, we got 20 some odd people in here. I just want to say to everybody, thank you for coming in. I'm going to let this go on for a couple more minutes in case I'm going to scroll back and look for some comments or what have you. Eddie, if you think anything, or CG, if you think of anything, let me know. If anyone wants to come on this show, let me know. Here's what's going to happen in the next 2 days or so as far as what I'm going to do. I'm going to reach out, obviously to people that I know. I'm not going to say who. Jim Breslow is obviously one of them, but quite a few others, to try to see if this actually means something. And again, I in no way am saying for anyone to stop what you're doing, undo what you've done, or what have you, because so many of the deadlines have been passed. I'm not going to mention the particulars of the settlement. Obviously, people that talk to me know that we know it, but because of the NDA that you guys have, I don't have an NDA. I can mention those things, but I won't out of respect for the system and how it's in place. However, in regards to this particular instance, over the next couple of days, there may be some information that comes out that may or may not affect the case in some way, shape, or form. I don't know what it would be. I'm not going to, I've got a lot of ideas in my mind. I have looked at some legal precedent cases. I do have a pay-through account, so I have looked past some other cases, but I haven't had enough time to research it enough to figure it out. Plus, I'm not an expert at all in this area. I am what I am. I'm just some dumbass ex whatever guy who is an investigative reporter now, and that's what I do. So, and I'm here for one reason only, and that's to help you guys out as best I can. And now we'll see what happens in the next couple of days. Hopefully, this will turn into something positive. If not, we'll figure out what should be done and go from there. Maybe nothing. This may be a whole bunch of nothing. But on the surface level, it stinks. And also this will give the other side of the fence a whole lot of stuff to chew on, which I hope they don't go a weird route, because this is truly something that is legitimately real, guys. This is real people, real things happen, and this could affect the case. So let's just be human about this, okay?
Mike, why don't you do me a favor? Shoot me a text with what you'd like to disclose.
Okay.
That I will send to these journalists.
Okay.
And to KFROG. Rather than me do it, you probably have a little bit more information you might want to include or not. I don't know. But why don't you send me what you'd like, and you and I'll communicate for a minute before I do it so that it's done properly. And we'll go from there.
You got it. You got it, bud.
All right. Thanks for letting me. God bless everybody. Have a safe night. Love you all.
You too, Eddie. And thanks for being the warrior for the cause that you are. And Mike, you too. I appreciate you, bringing awareness to all of us about this, allowing me to sit in on the conversation. And, obviously there's plenty of people on social media that will go all kind of goofy ways with all of this, as has been proven over time. But neither here nor there. Your job that you do with this has always been stellar. So I appreciate you letting me participate.
Thank you, and I appreciate you and my friendship with you, and Eddie. I appreciate you as well, and all of the above. And I'll be in contact very shortly. To the individual who basically got me onto this information, what have you. Thank you. Doing what that person did under the circumstances is amazing. When you guys find out who it is, you're probably going to be floored. But the amazing thing is that I'll get into that later. That's kind of that'd be a stupid segue at this point. But speaking of last night.
There's another stupid segue, but I mean, it's like how much stupid can you ignore, right?
Yeah, I mean, and keep in mind, I just want everybody to know, the people that were a party to last night, whether you had to endure watching it or all of these different things. Yeah, I'll say openly that the person who announced what they had done, that takes a lot of balls to do that. I'm not saying anything beyond that, other than it kind of does take some nuts to do that. But there's the other issue of trading one person for another that I have a problem with, and that problem's not going to go away. But the bigger issue, which will come out, because now I'm done. The movie's done. It's in the can. I'm working on another. I can't announce it. A couple people know, but I can't.
Covering up your microphone. Your microphone went a little weak on it.
Yeah, my finger's on it. Yeah, you're right. Okay. Yeah, so there's some other projects I'm working on, so I got to be real careful about some of the stuff I do. But at the same time, yeah, the storm's coming.
Well,
man, what a bunch of dumbass.
Yeah, I mean, misrepresentations about you has always been just brutal to watch. So yeah, it's
and then blocking me so I can't defend myself. It's fine. It's not my channel, so it is what it is. And the cool thing is that it's The people that I care about and who know exactly what happened, that's the people I care about. Anyone other than that, not going to worry about. But anyway, backpedaling a little bit, back into this. Thanks to everyone that's dropped by tonight. If you hear this and we're not live and you want to ask a question, my email address. My website's being rebuilt is miketurber@gmail.com. It's MikeTurber@gmail.com.
Do it one more time, Mike, because your microphone was covered again. One more time with your email.
Okay, so if you're watching this and you have a question about this, or if you have information about it that you're willing to divulge, I will absolutely, in the strictest of confidence, keep your information at that level, as evidenced by how I did today. And get a hold of me, and we'll see where it goes, and I'll keep you in the loop of the information. My email address is miketurber@gmail.com, and we'll make this work. Let's see, let me quickly check if there's some questions here that I may have screwed up on.
Is your microphone clogged up with some?
No, I'm in the middle of the desert, we'll say. Middle of the valley, actually. I'm actually right by where Mike Hughes, the flat Earth guy, tried to prove the Earth is flat, launched himself in the ground. Let's see here. Okay.
Probably belly button lint. I always get belly button lint in my microphone.
And a little bit further south is probably with the microphone. Remember that. All right, guys. So we'll look at this PG rated, so I don't have to go back and put whatever this is for adults or whatever. But I appreciate everyone dropping by. Thank you guys. Love you all. And as always, CG, thank you for coming on board. See y'all and everybody in the chat section. Thank you, including Thumper, who came by and said some words. I think Stairs was in there for me. Thank Bear for coming by. Start back there here. We got Rackler. Thank you. And scrolling back, it looks like a big old conversation between Seal, Rackler, and Jeff. Sorry, Jeff was in there. Thumper again, and Double K was on board. He says 5x5 News is a paid disinformation agent. Well, he may be right. Let's give him a soundbite. Here's your soundbite, Double K. It may be broken up, but yes, Double K. I work for the FBI's disinformation agent blockade program, and I get paid nearly $22,000 a month to do what I do. So you can use that, and there's your soundbite. But obviously, if I was a paid disinformation agent, I am the lowest paid one ever, because that's the situation I'm in right now. So anyway, you guys have a great night. Thank you for dropping by. Appreciate you being a guest on the show. Eddie, appreciate you being a guest on the show. CG, thank you for listening. We will talk to you later. CG, if you want to say that, shoot it, and then I'll end the podcast.
Awesome. Everybody have a great night. Good to see you all. And thanks, Mike, again. And take care, everybody.
You're welcome. This special announcement was brought to you by Double K. Bye-bye.